Hello!
What's up, nerds? Welcome back to this here, the Magic the Gathering series. If it's your first time joining us, make sure you go back. There'll be a link down in the description to go back to the first episode of the series and start learning with us.
If you're brand new to Magic, otherwise, we're gonna keep going with our journey. We just got done in the last episode defeating Talrand, and Jason now is taking over the controls. He's got the controls.
Got it.
Who are you fighting?
All right, so
we're going through the campaign too.
Yes, we were doing the one-player campaign, going through unlocking the decks. So this next encounter is called Disturbing the Nest.
Uh-oh. We're about to disturb it. Okay, so what was that?
So we have to pick which deck we want to use. We start out with these three decks. One that's red, one that's green, and one that's blue. Which do you think we should do?
Maybe the green?
The last time, for the last several episodes, we have been using this red deck. That's the one we were playing against Talrand.
So high creature size, what it had, like 4 out of 5. Pretty decent deck flexibility. It wasn't very fast, and the cards really don't synergize with each other. But
this next deck, little better card synergy, big old creatures.
It's the biggest creatures in the game.
But it's also a fairly slow deck.
So green decks are all about that. What's this encounter? So you've stumbled into the Hawk's mating grounds. What are you doing in the mating grounds?
I don't want to be here.
You wanted to see the friggin' Hawks have S?
There's just... No, they gotta do their thing. Why am I here?
I don't know why you're here. Now you hide.
Oh, shoot.
Now your hide will line their nests.
Oh, crap. I don't know about these Hawks.
Oh.
Alright, what do you think? Should we go blue deck or green deck? Let's
so
go
if
green.
I think we should do green. Green is all about like huge animals and creatures, but they also do a lot of stuff with elves. What else does green have?
A lot of green is about either just
elves. They do a lot of that type of stuff.
A lot of either kind of it's pretty aggressive. A lot of big creatures that kind of scale and get bigger and bigger. A lot of abilities that will boost up your creatures and make them stronger.
Yep, that and also resource acceleration.
Resource acceleration. Basically cards that will say something along the lines of search your deck for a land card and put it into play. Mm-hmm. And so you're getting more resources faster, and on say turn 5 you could already have like 7 resources. So you're way ahead in resources and are able to play bigger, better cards sooner. So that's kind of what the green decks are about for the most part.
So we're gonna play first.
So it is our turn.
So we draw our opening
7 cards.
Hand.
We got a lot of land. We have 5 land, and sometimes that's not a bad thing.
It's not bad.
But
what do you think like the sweet spot is for land?
I always like to start with either 3, maybe 4 at the most.
I would really like to start with 4. And then your first 3 cards are like a turn 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. That seems like Jason and I call it, and when we used to play cards a lot, we used to call it a God draw.
God draw.
So like it's like if God was playing this game, what would he draw?
Meaning like getting the best possible things
exactly
for every turn, like right away.
So if you go first in this game, you don't draw a card, because it's always advantageous to go first. So the developers of the game are thinking like, how can we make it so that it's more fair if one person has to go second? So the first person to play doesn't get to draw a card. So essentially, they're always going to be 1 card behind the other player, but they're always on the initiative. They always get to attack first on each one of the turns as you go along. So for the most part, in most card games, it's almost always advantageous to go first. Mm-hmm. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna keep?
So I think this hand doesn't look very good, because like the only 2 actual cards we have other than all these lands are turn 4 creatures. So we wouldn't, unless we just kept getting lucky with our draws, we wouldn't be able to do anything until turn 4.
I'd agree with Jason. So we're taking a risk here, because if you can take a mulligan like we've talked about before, which is it says over next to Jason's head, draw a new hand.
You get 7 new cards.
So you can only do that 1 time. So if you do that, then imagine if we do that and we get a new hand and we have 0 land. terrible hand.
That's really, really
At least this hand has a lot of land and possibility of getting new cards. So the hand that I have here, I'd rate like a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10.
I'd say 5 maybe.
So it's not a bad hand, but we could get like the God draw. So let's just try it.
So yeah, we're gonna mulligan. We got our 7 new cards. Wow, and we actually got the exact.
What? How is that even possible?
We just got the exact same.
I don't know if that's possible. So
I don't know if that's because it's just the
maybe the tutorial
encounter
or
does
something.
that. It just gives you something. But all right. But here's the thing. So if you choose to mulligan again,
it's because you can keep going.
You can keep mulliganing. But the penalty now is after the first free one, you start to lose a card each time. So if we were to mulligan again, we would only draw 6
instead of 7.
Which obviously is bad, especially going first because you're already missing out on your first turn draw.
Yep.
So I'd say let's just go ahead and keep this.
Just keep it. It's not terrible.
Because we do have a lot of resources. We can just kind of sit and wait as we draw 1 card per turn.
Yep.
So I'm going to play the land, and that is our first turn.
As always, you can only put down 1 land per turn. Otherwise, we'd be able to put down all the land and then play a monster. And that might be nice, but we can't do that.
Ooh. So, this guy, he put down his 1 resource. He's playing a white deck. And he actually has a 1-cost creature that is 1/1 and flying. So
Suntail Hawk.
That's a pretty good card, or a pretty good start for this guy.
Yep.
And
so he's just being like, here's my resource and a hawk, and the hawk is flying. So if we have any guys that are like, on the ground, the hawk will just fly right over the top. This is perfect.
So this is great. That's the card we just drew. It is our turn now.
So read that card.
So
now we have 2 resources.
Now we have 2 resources, and we can play this, and we're going to read it. So it says, search your library for a forest card and put that card onto the battlefield and shuffle. So
what does that mean?
This is
Why
what we were
that
talking
good?
about. We were talking about this earlier with the resource acceleration. This is great because when I play this right now, I'm going to get to pick out any of these resources. Doesn't really matter.
Those are all the land in our deck. So basically, you search your library or your deck.
And then as you can see there, it just put it right onto our resource row there. So now we have 3 resources, and it's only our second turn.
Yeah.
So we're already, even though we have nothing out, and right now we're actually going to take 1 damage. We're getting ahead in the resource curve.
Mm-hmm. The reason why that move is so good is because, like I said at the beginning of this episode, you can only lay 1 resource per turn, but there are cards out there. There are cards out there that allow you to put more resources down every single turn. So he put down another hawk.
So he has 2 hawks now. Same guy. So. And yeah, the great part about that is we just drew another card, which happened to be another land card, which isn't the best, but because we did that resource acceleration last turn, and it's only turn 3 right now, but because
it's our turn 3, but we have 4 resources.
Yeah, and now we can play either one of our 2 4-cost.
Yep. Let's read. What's this guy? What's
so let's
the behemoth?
look at this guy. Okay. He costs 4 to play. He is 4 attack and 3 health, and then he has an ability that costs 8 to activate.
It's a lot.
But, yeah, so obviously we won't be able to do that for a little while. Although we do have several land in our hand still, so we'll definitely get there at some point.
Yeah.
But if you do pay the 8, you target creature gets 5 attack and 5 health and gains trample. It's a new keyword we'll talk about until the end of turn. So what trample does, when you attack, so say this guy attacks, let's pretend that we did have the 8 resources to pay, and we target this guy, so he'll get +5/+5.
So he'll become a 9/8. Yeah.
So he has 9 attack and 8 health. And we attack our opponent, and he has one of these little 1/1 guys, and he chooses to block with his little 1/1 guy. Well, our big 9/8 guy that we have here, because he got +5/5 in trample, he'll attack, he'll block with his little guy, and obviously the attack won't hit our opponent.
Yeah, because they chose to block, and the creature now runs into the hawk. But
the
Trample.
good thing about Trample is that because this guy has 9 attack, and this guy only has 1 health or 1 defense, obviously that's way more damage than is necessary to kill him. So there'll actually be 8 additional damage, like overkill.
That normally would go to nothing.
Yeah, normally it would just be like, okay, you've killed me, clearly, I'm just going to die and go to the graveyard. But Trample, what Trample does is allows that extra spillover damage to then go directly onto the opponent. So we would deal then 8 damage to the opponent, as well as killing our guy, or our little owl there.
Yeah.
And our guy would survive.
Trample is a pretty green specific keyword. And like trample guys are usually really big, and if a little guy blocks, then the rest of the damage, like Jason was saying, spills over onto the player. So just keep that in mind for green decks with the trample.
Yeah. So this is a pretty decent card. It's not amazing.
It's okay.
The stats alone are decent, but for a deck like this that's probably gonna go into a little bit later game.
What else do we have?
That's a pretty cool ability. So this is our other option here. It's another 4-cost creature with 4 health instead of 3, but also 4 attack. And then the ability it has is when it comes into play, when it enters the battlefield, you gain 4 life. So then we would go from 20 health up to 24.
Yep.
And if a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard this card from your hand, put it onto the battlefield instead of putting it into your graveyard.
So that talks about a lot of zones, and we've been, in previous episodes, we talked about zones. Mm-hmm. So one keyword in here is discard. So if a spell or ability causes you to discard this card by chance, it's an if-then statement, then put it onto the battlefield, which is basically onto the field for free, instead of putting it into your graveyard, which is basically meaning that it is dead. So this card specifically is already really good. It's good because it is a turn 4 4/4, so its stats are really, really good. You gain health when he comes into play, and it has just a little extra bonus that if somebody's like, haha, you have to discard a card now, then it's like, no, actually I don't have to discard a card. I'm putting this guy into play for free and gaining 4 health.
So really that second part, the whole if a spell or ability, blah, 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 that part, that only really comes into play if he is in your hand.
Yes.
Once he's out on the battlefield, that's pretty much irrelevant.
Which is another zone. In your hand is another zone.
So I would say it's kind of a toss-up, because this card, I think, at this point is better in our hand, just in case he has discard, even though I don't think he does.
Versus a white deck, white decks usually don't make you discard. It's the black decks.
Generally.
The swamp decks make you do that. So I would say he's still really good.
Yeah,
I'd
so
say
either way, like that's we kind of forfeit the option to be able to use that second half of the card, but we're already going to be getting a slightly better a creature just in the stats, and then also we'll gain 4 life. So I'm just going to go ahead and play that, and that will be the end of our turn.
Nice. I think that is going to wrap up this episode. So thanks for hanging out, and in the next episode we're going to just we're going to crush these hawks. Keep playing these hawks, and we're gonna get the trample guys out here. It's gonna be good stuff.
Yeah,
so
come on back.
We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.